Welcome to session 2 of how to kill a bad habit. In session 1, we looked at the anatomy of a temptation, and we asked to get specific. What's the habit I'm trying to change? And we're trying to analyze it. What's my allure to it? What thoughts does it put into my mind? And what stirs my affections? What's the pull of the promise of pleasure in that particular habit? And now we want to look at temptation not only has a pull to it, it has a push to it. And so here's the thought for this session. Trials lead to temptations. Every temptation, often you'll find, is preceded by a trial. James talks about this. In James chapter 1, he says, "Count it all joy, my brothers, when you face trials of various kinds." Notice he doesn't say if you face trials, he says when. Trials, difficult moments in life are coming for all of us. And then James tells us to rejoice when they come. He says, because you know the testing of your faith produces steadfastness. Let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. But if you lack wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach. He says pain is coming for all of us, difficult moments in life. And he tells us to rejoice, he said, because it has the potential within it to make us stronger human beings. And when we realize we lack knowledge, I don't know how to navigate difficulty in my life, it can lead us to God and he can give us wisdom. We can become better as a result of a difficult circumstance. But then James moves on and says, but when each person is tempted, he's lured and enticed by his own desire. Notice he doesn't say if you're tempted, he says when you're tempted. And he puts these together in the sequence on purpose, because when trials come, temptations come. Whenever we're in a difficult moment, we want out. We want to alleviate the discomfort. We want to get out of the pain. And so with every trial comes a temptation. We need to know that this habit we want to kill has a pull to it. It has an allure to it of the promise of pleasure. And it also has a push to it, a pain we want to alleviate. Patrick Carnes, one of the leading voices in the planet about addiction, says this. He says that it's a pathological relationship with a mood-altering experience. He says when we're lonely, stressed, or depressed, addicts will often access key neural pathways in the brain through mood-altering chemicals or behaviors. He said addiction is ultimately an illness of escape. Its goal is to obliterate, medicate, or ignore reality. It's an alternative to letting oneself feel hurt, betrayed, worried, or most painful of all, lonely. I found that fascinating, that as he was analyzing habits, addictions, sins we want out of our life, he says, see the pull and the allure of them, what promise are they offering, but then see the push, what pain am I trying to alleviate? What is this promise to alter? All of us have a discomfort we want to disintegrate, and so we go to this thing because it promises us relief. I know for me in the early days of the shutdown with the pandemic, I, like many people, gained 10 pounds of pure fat. And I wanted to feel ashamed about that, but I thought, shame doesn't help me move forward at all. Let me just analyze it. Let me get curious about my circumstances. And I realized, I'm just mindlessly snacking throughout the day. And yeah, there's a pull and a lure to it. Like I like the taste of plantain chips, but they don't call to me necessarily. So I just tried to watch myself, like we talked about last session. What draws me to keep doing this? And I realized as I thought about it and journaled about it, I'm like, it's typically right after Zoom calls or right after reading the news. I'm noticing when I'm stressed. When I'm stressed and frustrated, I just go upstairs and open the pantry and don't even know what I'm looking for, and I just start eating. Because eating is a pleasurable act, it feels good, and I realize I'm not eating because I'm hungry. I'm eating to alleviate the discomfort of stress. And as I analyzed that and saw that, I went, there's a pull of the promise of relief, but there's a push of stress and anxiety and fear. And, alcoholics talk about this a lot. They call it thinking through the drink. Let me think through what's happening in my life. And they have an acronym HALT. When I'm hungry, angry, lonely, tired, look out. Because that's going to push me towards some activities that are going to lead me down a path I don't want to go. So here's your next challenge. Write out your problems. So if we looked at the habit we want to break last time, let's look at what are the problems that push me towards that habit. Write them out. Write out all the issues, stressors that tend to trigger this desire for relief. Just see what they are. Write them all out. Because again, we're analyzing our problem so we can learn in the next few sessions how to solve it. But what we're doing here is good work. Knowing is half the battle. Because if I have information, I can make informed decisions. Sun Tzu said it this way in his Art of War: if you know not yourself, nor your enemy, you will succumb in every battle. But if you know your enemy and know yourself, you need not fear 100 battles. So know yourself, know your enemy, know how it gets you, the pull of promise and the push of pain. When you see how it's working on you, then we can figure out how to work against it. Write it down. We'll see you next time.